A girl's scream echoes through the stone corridors of Bletsoe Castle on a freezing January night in 1457. The cry cuts through the howling wind like a blade through silk. In a chamber lit only by flickering candles, 13-year-old Lady Margaret Beaufort grips the blood-soaked sheets beneath her, her small body convulsing with pain no child should ever endure. The midwives whisper prayers in Latin, their faces grave in the dancing shadows. Outside, snow blankets Bedfordshire in silence, but inside this room, history is being written in blood and agony. Margaret's auburn hair clings to her sweat-drenched face as another wave of pain crashes over her. She is dying, they think. The baby is too large. Her hips too narrow. Her body is not yet finished growing. Yet here she labors to bring forth the boy who will one day sit upon the throne of England, Henry Tudor. The irony is cruel. This child, born of a near miracle, will end the bloodiest conflict in English history and found the Tudor dynasty that reshaped the world. Margaret Beaufort was no ordinary child. Born in 1443 at Bletsoe Castle, she carried within her veins the blood of kings. Descended from John the Gaunt, son of Edward III, royal blood, however, was both blessing and curse. In the savage world of 15th century England, where the Wars of the Roses loomed, such bloodlines made you either a valuable pawn or a dangerous threat. Her father, John Beaufort, Duke of Somerset, died when she was barely a year old. Some whispered suicide, others poison. Officially it was fever, but few believed it. A once proud commander in France, John had watched England's hard-won territory slip away, his failures gnawing at him until death became his release. Margaret's mother, the Dowager Duchess Margaret Beauchamp, understood survival. In a world where women's power came through marriage contracts, she wasted no time securing her daughter's future. At 6, little Margaret was betrothed to John de la Pole, son of the Duke of Suffolk. Yet politics was a shifting tide. When Suffolk fell from grace and was murdered at sea in 1450, the betrothal dissolved into nothing. By 12, Margaret was remarried, this time to Edmund Tudor, Earl of Richmond, half-brother of King Henry VI. Edmund was in his mid-20s. Margaret was still a child. Their marriage was consummated immediately, leaving her permanently scarred. Fate struck swiftly. In 1456, Edmund Tudor was captured during fighting in Wales. Within months, he was dead, perhaps a plague, perhaps a murder. Whatever the cause, Margaret was left a widow at 13, already pregnant with his child. Alone, vulnerable, and thrust into the brutal uncertainties of civil war, she fell under the care of Jasper Tudor, Edmund's younger brother. He brought her to the wind-swept fortress of Pembroke Castle, where her ordeal continued. The physician there, Dr. Lewis Curlian, studied her with worry. She was far too young, her pelvis too narrow. Birth would be dangerous, perhaps fatal, yet there was no choice. Dynastic survival demanded she deliver the child, no matter the risk. That January night in 1457, Margaret's labor began. For hours, her screams echoed through Pembroke's stone halls. The midwives knew the dangers well. This was a child giving birth to a child. 18 hours of unrelenting agony passed. The midwives worked desperately, their hands slick with blood, their prayers unending. Margaret drifted between consciousness and oblivion. At last, through brutal manual extraction, the baby emerged, pale, weak, almost lifeless. For a moment, the chamber fell silent. Then a cry pierced the air. Henry Tudor had been born. Margaret was shattered, torn and bleeding. She hovered near death for weeks. Her injuries were permanent. She would never bear another child. At 13, her body was broken, but her spirit, remarkably, was not. Her survival marked the beginning of a transformation. Margaret threw herself into faith and learning. Her near-fatal childbirth forged in her a fierce sense of destiny. She came to believe she'd been spared by God for a higher purpose, to see her son crowned king. Jasper Tudor became her guardian and mentor. He taught her the realities of power, how to read faces, weigh alliances, and navigate the treacherous politics of a kingdom at war. Meanwhile, Margaret's religiosity deepened into an obsession. She prayed for hours, sometimes until her knees bled, blending political ambition with divine conviction. As Margaret recovered, England descended into bloody conflict. The Wars of the Roses, Lancaster versus York, turned the realm into a battlefield. Henry VI, weak and easily swayed, was unable to control the rival factions. Kings were made and unmade on the battlefield. Margaret understood her son's survival was precarious. As a Lancastrian heir, Henry was both hope and target. To protect him, she navigated a labyrinth of marriages, alliances, and betrayals. She would wed again, twice, not for love, but for survival. Her second marriage, to Sir Henry Stafford, brought temporary stability. But when Stafford died, she wed Thomas Stanley, a powerful nobleman whose allegiance could shift like the wind. With each union, Margaret calculated carefully, ensuring her son's claim was never forgotten, never abandoned. Years turned into decades. Henry grew up in exile, hidden in Brittany under constant threat of Yorkist plots. Margaret, meanwhile, played her part in England, quiet, devout, and outwardly submissive. But beneath that pious exterior lay iron determination. She built alliances with disaffected nobles, courted the discontented, and whispered promises of a future where her son would unite the realm. Even when Yorkist kings reigned supreme, she never wavered in her belief that Henry's day would come. Her gamble paid off in 1485, nearly 30 years after that agonizing night in Pembroke. Henry Tudor landed in England, gathered his forces, and faced Richard III at Bosworth Field. Margaret was not on the battlefield, but her hand guided every step that led there. When Richard III fell and Henry Tudor was crowned King Henry VII, Margaret's lifelong mission was fulfilled. From the womb of a 13-year-old girl came a dynasty that would shape the destiny of England and beyond. She never remarried after her third husband's death, choosing instead to dedicate herself fully to her son's reign. She became the matriarch of the Tudor court, patron of learning, founder of colleges, and one of the most influential women of her age. Her body had been broken in youth, but her will forge an empire. Without Margaret Beaufort's endurance, cunning, and faith, there would have been no Henry VIII, no Elizabeth I, no Tudor Golden Age. Margaret Beaufort's story is one of survival against impossible odds. Forced into marriage as a child, nearly killed in childbirth, left widowed before adulthood, she endured it all, fueled by unshakable belief in her son's destiny. Her faith and ambition turned tragedy into triumph. Through her, the Wars of the Roses ended, and a new era began. And it all started that winter night in 1457, when a girl too young to be a mother gave birth to a dynasty.